Over 10,000 years ago, a howl was lost to time. But today it returns. Meet Remus and Romulus, the first two direwolves since the Pleistocene era. At just 15 days old, the pups take their first wobbly steps before a much-needed nap time. At 1 month, the pups enter a pivotal stage of development, the transitional phase. Here, they begin to growl, chew, and take the first steps into the world beyond the den. But growing up is no small task, and these little ones have certainly earned their rest. Three months in, the pups begin socialization, a key phase in their development. Weaning starts gradually, while play sharpens their instincts and strengthens their bonds. And with a mouthful of growing teeth, chewing is serious business. Antlers and sticks help keep their fangs fit and strengthen their bones. At 5 months, a new instinct awakens. The pups begin to sense structure, challenge one another, and learn the rules of the pack. This stage is marked by rapid growth and an emerging awareness of social hierarchy. Tussles, tackles, and toothy grins. Roughhousing may look like play, but it's serious practice for life in the pack. But wait, there's more. Meet Khaleesi, the first female direwolf brought back from extinction. She may be small now, but she's destined to stand as an equal among her brothers, a fierce force in the making. Their journey is only beginning. Subscribe now to witness the rise of the direwolves, step by primal step.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Redline Live. We're back again, and it's the same conversation because it's super important. Yep. And I think it's important that we all understand going into 2026 and beyond how to decipher these things. And today we're going to talk about not just bringing back animals from extinction, but we're going to talk about cloning. We're going to talk about hacking. We're going to talk about signs and wonders, avatars. Oh, yeah, a bunch of subliminal messages. It's going to be pretty crazy. And it's important because as we go into the future here in 2026, things are being said that like we're going to have certain things happening by 2030. So stuff is going to start ramping up here very, very quickly. And as Christians, ambassadors for Jesus Christ, we have to have that solid foundation going in so that we understand Scripture and have it drawn in our mind, drawn that red line in our mind of the stability going forward. So when this stuff starts to release, and some of it will, some of it won't, that we know exactly what we're looking at. Because, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm going to show you today, especially when it comes to avatar systems, it's going to get confusing about what is a real robot and what is not. And you'll see what I'm talking about as we get going here. You'll have to bear with me today. I'm going to bring in my fiance with me today. Her name is Angie, and I'd like to introduce you to her. We both have colds, so that's one of the main reasons why we're bringing in. She wanted to try this out with me for the first time, and my voice is a little bit more suffering than hers, so she's going to do some of the reading today. But I would like to welcome in my fiance, Angie. Hello, babe.
Hi.
How are you? And our dog, Oreo.
As soon as I talked, he barked.
All right. So as we get into this here, I just want to read this scripture with you guys. We're going to go off of Luke 21 to make sense of the day and age. So let's read this together. Men's hearts failing them for fear and for looking after those things which are coming on the earth, for the powers of heaven will be shaken, and then shall they see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. And when these things begin to come to pass, then look up and lift up your heads, for your redemption draweth nigh. Now, what's important about this scripture is that first phrase there, and for looking after these things. Other interpretations use the word expectation. But I want to point you to the fact that in the spiritual world, in the biblical world, the word expectation in those senses does mean that we expect these things to come to pass on earth, but it doesn't mean that they necessarily will. So people's hearts will start failing them as we go into this, just out of fear of the expectation of it, right? That's what that is saying there. And part of other scripture says, and Jesus himself says, wicked and perverse generation seeks after a sign. Okay, so we have to remember when these things start to reveal themselves here on earth, that we are not seeking after those things in anticipation of the glory of it all, right? Because that's what the secular people do. Even some Christians, the Bible says even some of the elite will fall because of these things that are coming upon the earth. Now, sorry, my voice is struggling. So you saw that first video with the dire wolves, right? If you remember, they were able to extract their DNA from old fossils of the dire wolf and recreate them. Now we're going to get in today how that happens with animals specifically. But what's great about this is we're going to show you today how complicated the human structure is that God created, and that we are not able to be cloned in the same way. In fact, even today with the technology that we have, it's near impossible. So buckle up, ladies and gentlemen, and draw that red line, because here we go. All right, so the dire wolves are one thing, and they clone the dire wolf almost in the same process. They mend DNA structures, and you guys might remember these two animals right here that get spliced together. Watch this.
This is the hybrid offspring of a male lion and a female tiger, and it's the largest cat in the world. Meet the liger, the gigantic hybrid animal weighing up to 1 ton and reaching up to 11 feet. This genetic combination might make it too heavy to hunt, and in fact, ligers do not live in the wild. They only exist in captivity. But why, you may ask, do ligers exist? It's all in their genetics. When a male lion and a female tiger come together, their offspring can inherit the best traits from both parents. The genes of a male lion are adapted to maximize the growth of his offspring. Female tigers, on the other hand, do not possess the growth-maximizing adaptation. This genetic mix results in the extraordinary liger. Unfortunately, due to their rapid growth and large size, ligers often suffer from multiple joint and skeletal problems. Their internal organs, especially their hearts, are placed under a lot of stress because of the animal's size and weight, making it difficult for them to function properly. They serve as a reminder that just because we can do something doesn't mean we should.
Yeah, that's interesting now, isn't it? So I did a few questions here with Chat GPT, and I want to pull you in on this. Let me see. I'm going to go full screen here, and I'm going to have my beautiful fiance read the first part of this. It's kind of small, and I can't blow the screen up for you guys, so maybe just listen. And but we wanted to show you too, and you guys have to remember that you can't always just trust AI, because AI says lies, and stuff like that in there. But for the most part, we're going to show you here with evidence as we read that a lot of what ChatGPT is saying right here is very much a reality. And this gets really spooky. So, babe, if you wanted to go ahead and start at the top there. You can even read the question that I asked ChatGPT and then go through the first 6 here, and I'll scroll with you.
Okay. The question is, what advancements and studies have been done on avatar bodies? There's a broad and active field of research and development around avatar bodies, meaning virtual or robotic bodies that represent human uses in digital or remote environments, spanning virtual embodiment, full body tracking, human robot avatars, psychological effects, emotive and inclusive design, and applications in therapy and communication. Here are the major advancements and studies to know about.
Okay, and real quick, so the beginning of this is going to start talking about the VR systems, because, ladies and gentlemen, this is about remote controlling. And if you remember the movie Avatar, right at the beginning, they talk about, the very first movie Avatar, and now they're going into their third installment. They talk about how they remotely control these avatar bodies or entities, right? So in real time, this is actually happening. So this first part is actually going to talk about the VR systems and how they do it. Go ahead, babe.
Okay, number 1, virtual embodiment and presence in VR. Sense of body ownership and embodiment. Researchers study how virtual bodies influence perception of self and environment. Tactile feedback increases embodiment and can even enhance VR's pain reduction effects, potentially rivaling moderate opioid analgesia by making users feel ownership over virtual hands. Avatar embodiment alters haptic perception, showing that seeing a virtual body affects how users perceive touch in VR. Control over full body avatar movement greatly affects sense of agency and embodiment. More sensors equals stronger feelings of being an avatar. That's kind of scary.
Being in the avatar, right?
Being in the avatar, yes.
So
yes.
you're talking about integration of the person controlling it by the VR and the robot, and they get to sense the feeling through the robot. Crazy.
Yes.
Keep going.
Customization and personalization. Personalized scanned avatars, those that resemble the real person, significantly increase body ownership, presence, and emotional response compared to generic avatars. Facial expression and habitual expression mapping in avatars improves social perception and the sense of identity in a virtual space. Number 2, go ahead.
And you guys got to remember that who's the head? And I guess I want to keep saying this and interrupting, because it's important to understand what institutions are involved in this. We got all of these AI institutions that are up and coming, especially that are working with the Trump administration, but a couple that are not. And the one that is at the head of this is Meta, ladies and gentlemen. And you should know that they're the ones that have come out with these virtual reality systems. In fact, it's the only company that I know of that has VRs. I mean, there might be a couple others, but they're definitely at the head of this. Go ahead, babe.
Psychological and behavioral effects. Proteus effect. The Proteus effect is a well-studied phenomenon where an avatar's appearance can influence the real user's behavior, i.e. confidence, stereotype alignment, exercise levels, pain perception, etc. Body image and mental health. Self-avatar experiments find that manipulated body proportions can affect visual attention and sense of embodiment, with implications for body image research and therapy. Avatar customization used in therapeutic VR, like self-compassion therapy, can support engagement and user comfort, even with stylized, not hyper-realistic avatars. Number 3, tracking and reconstruction technologies. Full body tracking and AI. Wearing smart clothing with triboelectric sensors plus AI models can capture full body movements for dynamic avatar reconstruction in real time, addressing limitations of cameras and inertial trackers. Machine learning methods like Avatar Poser predict full body pose from minimal input, like just headset and controllers, enabling more complete avatar bodies without complex hardware setups. Volumetric, photorealistic avatars. Research like Meta, like you just said, volumetric avatar work advances real-time, high-fidelity, clothed avatars that look and move realistically for VR and AR telepresence. Neural and hybrid models enable editable humans, virtual humans that can be customized in detail for diverse avatar generation. Number 4, robotic and remote embodiment, telepresence and robotic avatars. Projects like iCube Avatar System integrate locomotion, manipulation, facial expressions, audio, and haptic feedback to let a human operator embody a humanoid robot remotely, tested with real users at a distance or at distance settings. Number 5, emotional and inclusive avatars. Bioresponsive avatars. New systems map physiological signs to avatar emotional states in real time, enhancing empathetic connections in social VR by visualizing emotions beyond just visual appearance. Wow. Inclusive design guidelines. Research now includes inclusive avatar design to better represent people with disabilities, ensuring diversity in appearance, body dynamics, assistive technologies, and personalization control. Avatar libraries for diversity. Projects like VALID provide validated libraries of avatars covering diverse racial and gender representations, supporting more inclusive and research-ready avatars.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Number 6, studies show how avatar shape and geometry, not just realism, influence emotional engagement and behavior in virtual environments. Research also investigates how avatar realism and perspective alter the user-avatar relationship and the user's experience of meditated spaces. So the summary key themes in avatar body research. Area is embodiment and presence, the focus, sense of self in VR, examples, tactile feedback, motion control. Physiological effects, focus is behavior and identity, examples, Proteus effect, and body image. Another area, tracking and reconstruction, focus, full body capture, examples, smart clothing, AI models. Area, telepresence, robotics, focus, remote physical avatars, examples, iCube humanoid system. Area, emotional inclusive design, focus, representing emotion and diversity, examples, bioresponsive systems, inclusive designs, or guidelines, excuse me. Area, user behavior studies, focus, emotional engagement effects, examples, geometry and shape influences.
Now, we want to show you how real this actually is. I'm going to pull that back up here in a minute because there's a lot more to go through. But ladies and gentlemen, the iCube 3 system is actually real. and I found a video. Check this out.
Robots have been a staple of science fiction for several decades. But with the advancement of artificial intelligence and related technology, it appears that the age of robots is closer than what science fiction had once predicted. Our next report tells you what we are talking about.
This robot can mimic human movements. Named the iCube-3, it is an avatar system that researchers hope will in the near future allow humans to transport themselves to a remote location in real time. The robot can walk, it can wave, and its developers hope that soon enough iCube-3 can act as a body double.
If the human being walks, then the robot has to walk as the human does. Then we have been integrating wearable technologies for allowing the robot to move a hand as the human does, which means manipulation properties of the robot. And then we have been also integrating the other existing technologies for the vision, so the user can see what the robot sees, can hear what the robot hears, and this basically consists of the arrow from the operator to the robot.
The technology is still in its nascent stage, but artificial intelligence could prove to be the crucial difference. The aim is to offer an avatar that is usable by all and capable of replacing a human body in the real world. iCube-3 could usher in the next level of remote working, if there is a need to be physically present on location. Its immediate application is to give opportunity to those who cannot move or take part actively.
Clearly there is some training at the beginning, just to understand how to cope with delays or how to cope with different length in the body parts. For example, the robot has arms that are smaller than mine. So if I see something at a certain distance, I know that I should probably lean a little bit forward in order to reach it. Although with my own dimension, I will be able to reach it in an easier way. But this is pretty straightforward. So the operator doesn't need any technical detail, doesn't need any technical knowledge, just need to try and try to move the robot, basically.
iCube-3 is 1.25 meters tall and weighs 53 kilograms. For now, it is unique. But more versions of it could appear in the coming 5 to 10 years. According to developers, the avatar robots could also be made to look exactly like their human counterparts, and that will change the way we understand and experience reality. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Wow.
Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, before I say anything, what's your reaction to that, Angie?
Wow. I guess I don't understand why we would need something like that. That's just, humans would never leave their house. You can send them to work for you, they can grocery shop, they can do everything. So what's our point of existence after that?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
as what you read there, their design model is for those who are maybe necessarily handicapped or whatever, and they can use it as a body double to do the things that they need to from home. But of course, they're going to market it that way. So it's acceptable for us to accept it into society, right?
Right. And that makes sense for someone who is handicapped. Then they could work and take care of themselves essentially, but that's just not where it's going to end for sure.
No. And so like I talked to you the other day about this, and to me, what's really going to be confusing in this whole thing is like, so we're going to have all of these other robots coming out on the street. And of course, you see there by that example of their video that it's not very complicated at this point. It's a very small robot in proportion to a regular human being, but we know what their outcome is going to be. They eventually, you saw what it said there at the bottom of the screen. It says the avatar robots are coming and they can play, you know, it can do all human, it can mimic all human movement, and it can eventually become your body double. So what happens when these robotics get sophisticated enough? Granted, we're a little ways away from that, but thinking back, they said in that video that they started their research 15 years ago, and look at where we are right now. So how much quicker, and just as the reporter said there, once AI is integrated into this, how much quicker will they advance into the complicated part of this, where they actually start to look like human beings? And imagine.
Well, they said 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and
That's
imagine.
not very far away.
Yeah, but that robot was created back in 2021, so we're already halfway there.
Yeah, that's true.
And so,
Yeah.
to me, it's like you're going to see. Not only are we going to have to deal with the fact that we're going to start seeing robots walking our streets now, when they start integrating these robots that could be avatar systems. How do you know whether it's an autonomous robot or one that's being controlled by another human being? And if you guys have gone on, if you believe in subliminal messaging, it's all over the place right now. This stuff is going nuts. That's why I keep going back to this. Number one, Netflix came out with that movie called Electric State. Primarily, other than Avatar, this is another movie that it really shows that VR avatar system being controlled from another human being into robotics. Now, the robots on that movie, you actually get to see the human's face like it's a TV screen for a head. It's kind of weird. So you can see the human who's actually controlling it. But ultimately, I think their goal here is going to be integrating body doubles as a robot to actually look like a human being. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that is where they're going with that. It's going to be hard for us to tell the difference eventually.
Ladies and gentlemen, make sure that you reply in the chat. Tell us what you think about this whole thing, because it's going to get a little bit crazier here. And I just want to bring attention, because I think one of the important things being talked about right now is this disclosure. Okay, my last couple of shows are talking about the Age of Disclosure documentary, and then Steven Spielberg's new show coming out in July of this year. It's this year now, 2026. Whoop. So what's his called? What's Steven Spielberg's movie called? Do you remember? The day of disclosure, I think. Anyways, to the point.
Yeah.
They say that we're going to be exposed to aliens here on Earth. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think what you're going to see, and if you listen to these people talk about this, they talk about how the aliens that are going to be revealed, and you see my background here. Here, I'm gonna shrink us down a second, babe, so everybody can see background image. Let's see. Boom, like that. Check that out, ladies and gentlemen. So these are what in the alien world are called Nordic aliens. And so the importance to remember here is, the importance to remember here is that when they reveal these things, they want them to be revealed as a benevolent entity, right? We're just going to call it an entity, because a lot of people are going to believe that it's an alien. A lot of people are going to believe that it's a demon, which I believe that they are. But I think there's going to be some trickery in here too. And I think if they get advanced enough with these avatar systems, this is actually what we're going to be seeing, is them controlling avatar bodies. To me, it's not a coincidence when we have all of this subliminal messaging showing us what they're actually going to do. So this is why I think it's really important that we discuss this. And as we go into it, we know what we're looking at it, when it starts to be revealed.
Right.
All right. So I want to go further into, let's pop this chat GPT back up on the screen. And I'm going to read the second section. So I asked it, I said, how advanced have we gotten in cloning? Because this is important, ladies and gentlemen, because one of the things that James Cameron says, the director of Avatar, is he had his mom draw a picture of a blue woman because he said he actually had a dream that he had a dream of a bioluminescent being. Okay. To me, that would be like a fallen angel or a demon or something, right? But this is why he tries to make it come alive in the movie Avatar. So it's important to me at least, looking into this to see how far we actually are into cloning. And there's some really good news for us as human beings, ladies and gentlemen. Babe, if you wouldn't mind, I'm struggling here.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. You want me to read it?
Yeah. So I asked it, how advanced have we gotten on cloning? And you can take it from there.
Okay. Cloning has advanced significantly, but with clear biological, ethical, and legal limits, especially when it comes to humans. Here's the current realistic state of cloning as of now, broken down plainly. Number one, what can we clone successfully? Animals.
Okay, so real quick.
Okay.
This is, so as we start here, ladies and gentlemen, this is important to understand why they can recreate things like dire wolves. They've done it with cows, cats, and dogs, stuff like that. It's important to understand, sheep, how they can clone these animals, but not humans. Okay, go ahead, babe.
Okay. Scientists can clone mammals using somatic cell nuclear transfer, or SCNT. This technique replaces the nucleus of an egg with DNA from a cell body. It has been used on sheep, cows, pigs, goats, cats, dogs, and horses. Cloned animals are genetically similar but not identical. Mitochondrial DNA differs and epigenetics diverge. Limits: high failure rates. Many embryos do not survive. Increased risk of birth defects, immune problems, and early aging. Success rates are still often low, below 5 to 10%. Number two, human cloning. What's actually happening? Reproductive human cloning has not been achieved. It is widely illegal worldwide. No verified evidence a human clone has ever been born. Therapeutic cellular cloning. This has progressed. Scientists can clone human embryos only to the blastocyst stage, to a few days old. These are used to harvest patients, patient-specific stem cells. The embryo is not implanted and is destroyed. This work overlaps with regenerative medicine, organ repair, and disease modeling. Number three, stem cells replace most cloning needs. A major shift happens when induced or with induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPSCs. Adult cells can be reprogrammed into stem cells. No embryo required. Same genetic match as the patient. This largely replaced cloning embryos for medical use and is seen safer and more ethical. Cloning organs versus cloning bodies. Organs and tissues, this is very advanced. Lab-grown skin, bladders, corneas, blood vessels. Also, are many organs or organoids grown for research, like brain, liver, gut. However, fully functional complex organs like hearts or brains are not yet grown and transplanted routinely.
Okay, so think about this, ladies and gentlemen. So they're already starting to do this lab stuff. You see, they even have mini organoids, brain, liver, and gut, which are some of the more complicated organs in our bodies, right? So they're trying to duplicate this, but so far they have been unable to. The important thing to recognize here is the stuff that is lab grown: skin, bladders, corneas, blood vessels. And you'll see here in a minute with this other article that I'm going to show you for that robotics. What was it called? iCloud?
iCube3 or iCube Avatar. Yeah, something like that.
They actually use skin samples to give it an actual human touch and feel. So they're using these lab grown things to help in bringing forth humanoid avatar robots. So that's important to recognize as we go on. Go ahead, babe.
Okay. Whole bodies, no capability to clone a mature human body. Development requires natural gestation, environmental shaping, and a conscious development. Number 5, why cloning a human is far harder than it sounds. Even with identical DNA, epigenetics, which is the gene on and off switches, differ. Environment shapes brain wiring, personality, and health. Consciousness is not encoded in DNA. A clone would be a genetic twin born decades later, not a copy of the person.
So this is also important to understand. So this is why the difference between doing an animal and a human, because a lived conscious is something they cannot duplicate. It would be like recording on a cassette tape and then ripping it all out. You can't do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just doesn't happen. So with animals, they have a personality type, but they don't have memory and all of that stuff like human beings do in consciousness. So
they may be able to clone a body, but not the way we feel or think, because they can't clone a soul.
Yeah, they said,
right?
So with DNA, they can duplicate a body, but it's just basically a meat suit.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Okay, number 6.
Okay, ethical and legal barriers. Nearly all countries ban human reproductive cloning. Concerns include identity and rights of clones, medical risk, exploitation, eugenics. Research is allowed only under strict oversight and usually stops at the embryonic stage. Number 7, where the frontier is now. Instead of cloning whole humans, science is focused on precision of gene editing, regenerative medicine, synthetic embryos that are non-viable for research, longevity and cell rejuvenation, brain-computer interfaces, not cloning consciousness. Bottom line, we can clone cells, tissues, some animals, and early embryos, but not people. And if we could, cloning does not recreate identity, memory, or the soul, only DNA. Given your did you want me to keep going?
Given your no. That's good. Okay. Let's see, what are the odds that okay. I'll start in on this next part, but you get the gist there, ladies and gentlemen. So God created us uniquely. This is going to go a little bit deeper into our reproductive organs, specifically in women, like the placenta, and it's going to show us why it's way more complicated, not just with consciousness, but within the placenta, why a human cannot be cloned. But I asked ChatGPT here another question. I kind of swap back and forth because this stuff is really intriguing to me. So I had to dig in deep, and I asked it, what are the odds that a world government has a clone avatar type body? So you saw the IQ3, okay? That's a reality in virtual with virtual reality between a human and a robot. But this is the probabilities here are staggering, and you'll really like this. Short answer: the odds of a fully functional human level clone avatar body secretly owned by a world government are extremely low, ladies and gentlemen. The odds of partial non-sentient or narrow avatar systems, robotic, bioengineered tissues, or advanced telepresence are moderate to high. And you're going to see here the percentages that the AI says that a government actually has this. Below is a clear, grounded breakdown separating science fiction, classified research, and what is realistically possible. Excuse me. Here's a probability snapshot. Capability: fully grown human clone avatar, consciousness and controllable, extremely unlikely, less than 1%. So I don't think we have to worry about that at this time, although we know with their evil intentions, these are the kind of things they're actually heading towards.
Yeah,
But
they're trying.
for right now, that's not something you have to worry about. Biological clone body without consciousness, still very unlikely. You see that red X in there. Advanced humanoid robotic avatar telepresence likely exists in prototypes, 40 to 60%. That iCube3 was one you just saw.
Yep.
Biohybrid avatar robot plus living tissue possible in labs, 10 to 20%. See, I told you they were building those tissues because that's
Yep.
what they're trying. That's what they're trying to build. It's still not a possibility yet, but they're already going towards it. If the AI is giving it a 10 to 20% already, crazy. Digital avatar plus AI plus human remote control. Ladies and gentlemen, green light almost certain at 80 to 95%. What's your response to that, babe?
Wow. Well, I mean, that's scary. But as you're reading this, one has to wonder, where do they get these stem cells? Where are they getting all of this, DNA from people? And I guess as Christians or just people going into the future, there's things you can do to try to limit someone taking yours. For example, if you're having a baby, keep the placenta. Some people might think that sounds gross, but they take a lot of DNA from that and from the umbilical cord. When you go to the hospital and they ask you to sign a form that says you will donate your tissues to science, say no. That will slow down some of this because they have changed medicine a lot to accommodate this kind of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. So number one, why a true clone avatar body is unlikely. To have what people usually imagine, a grown biological human body that can be inhabited or remotely controlled, you would need to solve 4 unsolvable problems at once. Number one, accelerated human growth does not exist. As you see, when we go deeper into this, the human beings have one of the longest gestation periods, and that's something that's critical that in trying to clone a human being is almost impossible. So thank you, Jesus.
Yes.
Number 2, brain development without lived experience, not possible. Number 3, memory or identity transfer, purely speculative. They're still trying to do that. We see movies like Transference with Johnny Depp, where they're trying to transfer consciousness into let's say one of these avatar bodies or whatever. It's speculative, but they're still trying it. Number 4, consciousness control or insertion, no scientific mechanism. Even the most advanced governments cannot bypass human developmental biology. A clone must still gestate, be born, grow for 18 to 25 years, and develop a mind shaped by environment. See, with animals, ladies and gentlemen, they're largely off of instinct and being in a pack or whatever. They have their built-in environments, not their individual lived experiences. A blank adult human body is not biologically achievable. Number 2, what governments almost certainly have, a robotic and telepresence avatar. Governments and defense agencies openly fund humanoid robotics, remote operation, telepresence, as we just saw with iCube3 there. I don't know what country that was either. They were obviously third world. So it makes you wonder what we've actually accomplished here in America, but crazy. AI-assisted decision bodies. Entities such as DARPA have long invested in human-machine teaming, robotics that mimic human motion, as we just saw with iCube3, remote embodiment systems. These are avatars in function, not biology, ladies and gentlemen. Number 3, digital plus physical hybrids, the real frontier. The most realistic avatar body stack today looks like this. Robotic humanoid body, AI for balance, speech, and facial cues. So, the AI helps with the integration between the two. But you're going to see with this next article, I'm going to pop that up here next, babe, and you can read through that one.
Okay.
The distances that they're able to control avatars from. And if you guys watched my last show, you could see with QKD, the distances they're able to teleport communication from the ground to space satellites. So this is getting way complicated and sophisticated to the point that they can do this. I don't even know the distance there. That's just insane. But you'll see here in a minute how far they can do it with robotics. AI, okay, human operator for high-level control, limited sensory feedback, vision, sound, and haptics. Private sector research by entities like Meta Platforms, talked about that, is pushing for photorealistic digital avatars, full body motion reconstruction, neural interface research, still early. So they want complete control from virtual systems, ladies and gentlemen. They're really trying to make Ready Player One come to reality for real, except you won't be playing a game. You're actually going to be controlling a body double in real time.
That's
right.
Insane. Yeah, they're trying.
Governments usually lag slightly behind private AI labs, but integrate results for security and defense. Number 4, biohybrid bodies, plausible but limited. Some labs experiment with living tissue on robotic frames. Lab-grown skin for sensors, organoids, mini brains, no conscious. However, these systems cannot host a human mind. They function more like advanced tools, not vessels. So these are going to be tools, ladies and gentlemen, not just for weaponry or whatever, but I think it's going to be used for mass confusion and chaos. And if you understand that biblically, this stuff gets real serious. Think biological components, not a living human proxy. Number 5, world government reality check. There is no confirmed unified world government with unlimited secrecy, unlimited funding, unlimited breakthroughs. Even the most classified projects leave whistleblowers, scientific leakage, infrastructure traces. A secret human clone avatar program will require massive medical facilities, thousands of specialists, decades of development, impossible secrecy. But we know from the movie Age of Disclosure that it's not just the government. We have these agencies, these private agencies who get the funding. Interesting enough, the Genesis mission that Trump just announced is going to be controlled by the Department of Energy, ladies and gentlemen. So these are extra governmental agencies or NGOs even, right? That they hold these secrets, and that's why the government doesn't control it completely. A lot of these private institutions are the ones doing that, and that's why some of the secrecy is able to be so private, right?
Yeah, so it's not, the government kind of has an out. They may help fund it, but they're not directly involved.
Right.
So they can say, there's no confirmed unified world government with all of this, but I think there are, other companies and NGOs, like you said.
So bottom line, straight answer, clone avatar bodies, biological, conscious, controllable, almost certainly do not exist. Advanced robotic or AI avatars used by governments very likely exist in limited or prototype form, as we just showed you. And digital avatars replacing leaders or officials already happening in controlled contexts. What? Did you?
Yeah.
What?
Replacing leaders or officials. That's wild.
Think about how much conspiracy there is out there about lizard people, right? We got to go to this imaginary place where our officials have been taken over by alien entities already in this world, right? Lizard people in the Antarctic that live underground. What about this? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I don't, that kind of took me off. That surprised me. I don't remember us talking about that one before. Already happening. That's, huh.
All right. So
Yeah.
I want to share this other article here. And I'm going to blow this up. Let me see. Let me increase this here real quick for you guys. Yeah, this one's different. Okay, hold on. Let's go one more. Okay, go ahead. So this is, I'll have you read this real quick, Ange.
Okay.
And we can't view the whole article because you have to have a membership with this. But this is from Science Robotics, and this talks about the IQ3 system. Listen to this, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay, we represent an avatar system designed to facilitate the embodiment of humanoid robots by human operators, validated through iCube3, a humanoid developed at the Istituto Italiano di Tecnologia. I don't speak Italian, but sounds like it's going on in Italy.
You could just say IIDT.
Oh, IIDT. Okay. More precisely, the paper makes two contributions. First, we represent the humanoid iCube3 as a robotic avatar that integrates the latest significant improvements after about 15 years of development of the iCube series. Second, we present a versatile avatar system enabling humans to embody humanoid robots encompassing aspects such as locomotion, manipulation, voice, and facial expressions with comprehensive sensory feedback, including visual, auditory, haptic, weight, and touch modalities. We validated the system by implementing several avatar architecture instances, each tailored to specific requirements. First, we evaluated the optimized architecture for verbal, nonverbal, and physical interactions with a remote recipient.
Listen to this.
This testing involved the operator in Genoa and the avatar in Venice, about 290 kilometers away. Thus
Now, ladies and
allowing
gentlemen, 290 kilometers in miles is 180 miles. Think about that.
Wow,
Go
that's
ahead.
crazy. Thus allowing the operator to visit the Italian art exhibition remotely. Second, we evaluated the optimized architecture for recipient physical collaboration and public engagement on stage, live at the We Make Future show, a prominent world digital innovation festival. In this instance, the operator was situated in Genoa, while the avatar operated in Rimini, about 300 kilometers away. How many miles is that?
So 290, that's 190 to 200 miles, somewhere in there.
Interacting with the recipient who entrusted the avatar with a payload to carry on stage before an audience of approximately 2,000 spectators. Third, we present the architecture implemented by the iCube team for all Nippon Airways ANA Avatar X Prize competition.
So you see there, and that's pretty insane to me. So they can control a robot 200 miles away in physical real time right now already, ladies and gentlemen. Think about as they implement quantum computing into these devices and it gets so much more sophisticated, especially when I talked about in my last show with the QKD, and they're able to integrate quantum entanglement into our fiber optics, ladies and gentlemen, as we go into the 6G system, which is going to be rolling out here within the next 4 to 5 years, right? I think that's what I heard from another pastor friend of mine, that this is maybe even in the next couple years, we're going to start seeing 6G roll out. But they can actually implement, quantum entanglement and teleporting that type of communications into our current fiber optic systems. They don't even have to change that. That's how sophisticated this is getting.
Yeah.
And it's much more controllable with their quantum computing. So that's intense, ladies and gentlemen.
All of this is coming very fast.
Yeah.
Change is coming very fast.
So crazy. Like we're talking about this and it seems like I think we're kind of ahead of it at this point still, but that's why I really want to talk about this stuff. So especially when it comes to Christians and this stuff starts rolling out and people are like, what do we do?
Yeah.
Here you go. We got some foundation for you.
Yes.
All right. So let's go deeper. We're going to close this show out later with talking a little bit more about nanotechnology, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm about to freak you out with that. But let's go back to our Chat GPT stuff, and we'll go further in with this. All right, where do I got here? So let's talk about the Nordics, right? If you see you saw my background there, but also my thumbnail. And what I thought was really interesting I just found out about the fact that James Cameron, the director for Avatar, asked his mom to draw the blue woman because he dreamt about a bioluminescent being. I asked Canva AI to draw me a picture of what it sees as a current Nordic alien. And as you see on my thumbnail, ladies and gentlemen, it drew a blue woman.
Yeah.
What?
Wow.
Okay, we're going to get into this.
Yeah.
The alien life forms that are being talked about that are called Nordics, how would you describe them? And this is what ChatGPT says. You want to read this, babe?
Yeah. The beings commonly called Nordics or Nordic aliens are not scientifically verified life forms. They come from 20th century UFO lore, contactee accounts, and later pop culture reinforcement. Below is a clear, neutral description of how they're typically portrayed and where the idea comes from. How
real
Nordics
quick,
are. Yeah.
Real quick, before we go into the details of this, ladies and gentlemen, you have to realize this alien narrative has been going on for decades, right? It's not something that's new. And you're going to see here, AI actually draws out for us the rewording of of phrases that we used to say back when this alien narrative came out back in the day to what it is in modern day. Go ahead, babe.
Okay. Across reports, books, and testimonies, Nordics are usually said to be human-looking, nearly indistinguishable from people, tall, 6 to 7 feet, light skin, blonde or light hair, blue or light-colored eyes, physically fit, symmetrical, calm, emotionless, and serenely authoritative, communicate telepathically rather than verbally. They are often described wearing tight-fitting one-piece suits, minimalistic, futuristic clothing, no visible insignia.
Okay, so this is important to understand. So if they're going to roll out a being like this, let's say it is an avatar and it's remotely controlled by other human beings, we would never know that, right? Number one. But secondly,
Right.
this is what I was talking about, that it's going to be something that looks like us, so that we're accepting of it, number one. And
Yes.
two, so that we're not shocked by it being revealed and we can relate with it. Now, one of the things that strikes me dumb with this whole thing is the whole talk about these beings are supposedly how's it said? They're more intelligent. They're
Mhm.
high intelligence, right? But
Right.
what's that last line say? Communicate telepathically rather than verbally. If they're so intelligent, why can't they speak our language? Does that make sense to you?
No, not really, unless, they're speaking it telepathically, I guess. That
That's
doesn't. You would think if they wanted to integrate in humans and, move about us without us knowing, they would speak.
exactly. And if you think
Yeah.
about how Revelation talks about the beasts, that last beast supposedly can speak dragon. Well, if these are the beings
Mhm.
and they can speak dragon, then why are they talking to us telepathically? That's kind of weird.
Right. That is weird.
Anyways, go on.
Okay, claimed origins according to lore. Different sources claim they come from the Pleiades star cluster, hence the name Pleiadians. Venus, early contactee era, and other nearby star systems. They are often portrayed as benevolent, spiritually advanced, concerned with humanity's development, opposed to nuclear weapons, guides are overseers of Earth.
Why'd you
It's
giggle
making
there?
them sound like angels. Well, the opposed to nuclear weapons, when we've been hearing that other people saying we need to have, or not need, but it's going to take potentially a nuclear war to bring these beings to Earth.
Yeah, because it supposedly
they're
has to
opposed
strike
to them.
fear in us, right?
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But that sounds like angels, really benevolent, spiritually advanced, guides or overseers of Earth. They're making them sound like angels.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
Satan shows himself as an angel of light, right?
correct.
Maybe
Where they,
maybe they're trying to duplicate that. Hello.
yeah, and having them the way they look as well. I mean, sounds like they're aesthetically pleasing to look at, like people would expect of an angel.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. Where the idea came from historically, 1950s contactee movement. The earliest Nordic stories come from individuals claiming peaceful contact with friendly humanoids. This was during the Cold War anxiety, nuclear fear.
Nuclear fear.
Yep. The rise of space age optimism. Yeah, they throw that word around a lot. 2, cultural projection. Their appearance closely mirrors idealized Northern European human features, which has led many scholars to view them as psychological projections, cultural archetypes, and products of the era's aesthetics rather than extraterrestrial biology. 3, later reinforcement. UFO literature, sci-fi media, New Age spirituality, and internet forums and modern conspiracy culture.
Sounds like something that still happens.
Psychological and symbolic interpretations. Many researchers interpret Nordics as archetypal figures. They resemble angels, ascended masters, watchers, and enlightened overseers.
Oh, what? Watchers?
Yeah, watchers.
That topic is being thrown around, right? Because supposedly
yes,
fallen angels are watchers. Oh,
right.
We're going to get into that a little bit further with some video that I have to show you, and a new show that I'm watching on Peacock. Crazy. Listen to this.
Yes. Okay.
Keep going.
Okay. Authority without fear. Unlike Greys, Nordics are depicted as familiar, reassuring, trustworthy. This makes them effective figures in guidance or persuasion narratives. Scientific assessment. From a scientific standpoint, there is no biological, genetic, fossil, or astronomical evidence for Nordics. No verified materials, bodies, or technology. No independent confirmation from astronomy, astrobiology, or SETI. Additionally, evolutionary, it is extremely unlikely that an alien species would evolve to look nearly identical to modern humans unless there's a shared ancestry, which is unsupported by any evidence. Yes.
So where do they come from?
That's a good question. They come from imaginations. Theological and worldwide perspective. This is important. From a biblical or spiritual lens, which aligns with your previous work or of discernment, the human-like, enlightened, morally superior presentations fits long-standing patterns of deceptive spiritual entities. Scripture warns that deceptive beings can appear as light, as teachers, and as guides. The message often emphasizes human divinity, evolution toward godhood, salvation through knowledge rather than repentance. This is why many Christian theologians interpret Nordics not as extraterrestrials, but as modern reskinning of an ancient deceptive narrative.
Whoa.
Bottom line, Nordics are best understood as a mythological symbolic construct, not a confirmed alien species. They appear to be a blend of cultural ideals, psychological archetypes, spiritual deception themes, and scientific fiction reinforcement. They are compelling because they look like us, speak of peace and promise advancement, making them far more persuasive than monstrous or frightening figures, which I think they've done that on purpose, so we'll accept it.
Yeah. So, ladies and gentlemen, the bottom line there on my end of things is, to me, this says that there is no such thing as aliens, right? I already believe that. But just to throw it out there, the AI is saying it too. Okay. So, aliens, especially if what we see being rolled out in this disclosure are grays or whites or blues in this matter, Nordics, right? Are not aliens. Okay. So to me, it's either going to be one of two things. It's going to be a possible re-implementing of strange flesh in fallen angels that are already here and revealing themselves to the public, or we're going to get sophisticated enough that they're able to make some sort of representation of a Nordic in avatar remote controlled entities. That's my bottom line.
Likely. That's likely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I also asked why modern alien narratives mirror ancient spiritual encounters. So modern alien narratives mirror ancient spiritual encounters because the structure of the experience hasn't changed. Only the interpretive framework. Ladies and gentlemen, this is super important to understand. So we do not have any type of confusion when we go into this. It's the same as it's always been. Nothing is new under the sun, right? Listen to this. When a culture's worldview shifts, the same class of encounters gets rebranded to fit the dominant intellectual language of the age. Below is a clear, layered explanation that connects psychology, history, theology, and culture. The interpreted changes, not the encounter. Ancient people interpreted anomalous encounters through a spiritual cosmic lens. Angels, watchers, gods, spirits, messengers from the heavens. Modern people interpret anomalous encounters through a theological cosmic lens. Aliens, interdimensional beings. That's being thrown around right now.
Yeah, a lot.
Hello, Anna Paulina Luna from our own Congress. Advanced extraterrestrial intelligence. Time travelers. That's an interesting one. Galactic federations, ladies and gentlemen. They're trying to bring Star Wars and Star Trek into our modern day. This is what they're doing. They're changing the phrases of things we used to talk and conforming it to our modern day.
Yeah.
Same encounter type, different vocabulary. What do you think about that, babe?
Yeah, that's interesting. It's like they're taking pieces of our entertainment, like from when we were kids, and making it relevant as though it's real, like Electric Federations. What?
Well, you think about, we got some millennials have seen the old stuff, but now we got Gen Z and Alpha that they don't know any of these shows, so they can start changing this stuff and they wouldn't know the difference.
Right. That's true. That's very interesting.
Descriptive parallels are too consistent to ignore. Across ancient texts and modern UFO reports, the beings often share. Ancient accounts descend from the sky. Modern alien narratives arrive in craft.
Wow.
We're going to, age of disclosure, we're going to start the whole UAP narrative, right? We're going to start seeing they're going to arrive in craft, right? That's what it's saying here.
Yep.
Ancient accounts, radiant, luminous, bioluminescent beings. Hello.
Yep.
Modern alien narratives, glowing beings.
They're not even changing the wording that much.
No.
It's crazy.
Ancient account, communicate telepathically. Modern account, mental communication. There's not really much difference there.
No, that's the same thing.
deliver warnings or teachings, messages about humanity. So what? Like they're gonna tell us. I guess that's what I heard, right? They're gonna tell us how and what our origins are when they come
Yes.
when they get revealed. Is that what that is?
Yeah. Yep.
Claim higher knowledge, advanced intelligence. Again, if they can't speak our language, it doesn't seem advanced to me. Just saying. Inspire fear or awe, paralysis and shock. Ooh. What about
Wow, that's aggressive.
what about sleep paralysis? Huh? I hear these encounters about having encounters with demons and ending up in
Yep.
sleep paralysis, right?
Yes. I know people personally that have that. Correct.
Alter perception of time or missing time. These overlaps are not superficial, they're structural. The heavens were reinterpreted as outer space. In ancient cosmology, the heavens were a layered spiritual realm, the domain of divine and rebellious beings, right? Talk about the fallen angels or the watchers, right? In modern cosmology, the heavens became outer space, star systems, dimensions, and multiverses. Ooh.
Oh, okay.
The language changed when science replaced theology as the authoritative structure. What?
Okay. Oh,
See, this is why I think ChatGPT is telling the truth here, because we all remember the COVID era, right? One individual, Mr. Fauci, who said he is science. You remember that one?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Wow. That's saying something right there. This explains why angels become aliens, chariots become spacecraft, and visions become abductions.
So this is what this is saying. How I'm taking this is they've taken our education and what we've learned as far as Christianity goes or theology and heaven and angels, and they've switched it to it's not heaven now, it's outer space. It's not angels, it's aliens. So they're just trying to take Jesus out of everything.
Yep.
And make that the, the fairy tale, I guess, so much as they try to make aliens seem real.
Right. That's a good point. As so goes the tenure of our government officials and taking Jesus out of all of our institutions too, right? That happened first. That happened first. Now we're seeing this. Wow.
Yeah.
Good point, babe. Good point. The message content has shifted, but the agenda hasn't. The ancient deceptive spiritual encounters often promoted secret knowledge, enlightenment without repentance, humans becoming divine, and moral autonomy. Modern alien encounters often promote human evolution to godhood, salvation through technology or consciousness. That's what's coming, ladies and gentlemen. As for this being a New Year's video, number one day for 2026, we're still looking at mass deception and confusion coming. This is why I'm talking about this. Moral relativism, a post-religious global unity. Interesting. When you think about the
post-religious.
Yeah. Have you heard about the Abraham House over in I don't know what third world country that is, babe? Have you heard of that? The Abraham House?
No.
Where they're integrating Islam, Catholicism, and Christianity together. It's a big, huge complex they built.
Oh, no, I don't think I've heard of that. How do you possibly take those three religions with such different beliefs and integrate them together?
I don't know, but that's what that reminds me of right there, the post-religious
it
global unity. This aligns directly with warnings found in the Bible, especially angels of light, deceptive signs and wonders, false teachers bringing another gospel. The beings may look different, but the message trajectory is identical, ladies and gentlemen. Authority transfer
Yep.
from God to advanced beings. Here we go. This is what you talked about. Ancient cultures trusted divine revelation. Modern cultures trust advanced intelligence, trust science, trust beings more evolved than us. How do we know that they're more evolved? If they just get revealed to us, we don't know anything about them.
Because they tell us they are, and therefore, if the government, NASA, whoever tells us, then must be true, right?
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're stupid people. We might as well just go along with it.
Yeah. Well, some of us are.
So deception adapts, not by opposing science, but by wearing it. What?
Wow. Okay.
Aliens
Wearing
function.
it.
Yeah, wearing it. So
What is that? What do you think that means?
we just read some of it about the advancements, especially with avatar systems. The human beings have wearables in order to control the robotics. So this is the
Okay.
future.
Yeah. Okay.
This is the future we're going into. You know, Elon came out here just a couple of weeks ago and said, in the future there will no longer be cell phones. We'll be having
right.
wearables. Remember?
And like the glasses, the meta glasses, that kind of stuff. Okay.
Yeah, it's all going into wearables.
That makes sense. Okay.
Aliens function as authority figures who bypass scripture, moral accountability, and repentance. Tell me that doesn't set up for the beast system, huh?
It does. And I need to take it back. I don't think people are stupid. I just think I said that kind of off the cuff. They're very misled and uneducated about this stuff, which is why what you do, I think, is so important to show people other sides other than what our government is telling us.
No, and even some of our spiritual fathers, you know,
Yes.
Not a lot of them are talking about this angle, but you know, that's why I'm here. These are the types of things that I see, and I just want to add to that.
Yeah, it's important.
They offer guidance without judgment, making them more acceptable. Number 6, why Nordics look like angels. The Nordic archetype is especially revealing, human-like, beautiful, calm, enlightened, and benevolent, just like I said. The mirrors. Yeah. Angelic messengers, watchers, ascended masters, beings of light. A grotesque being frightens, a beautiful being persuades, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. Yep.
Psychological consistency across millennia. Human neurological responses during sleep paralysis, altered states, trauma, and visionary experiences have not changed. What has changed is education, you said it,
Yep.
cosmology, cultural mythos. So the mind fills in the blanks using current cultural symbols. Why this is happening more now? Alien narratives are increasing because traditional religion is declining. I covered that in a previous show.
Yes.
Trust in institutions is collapsing. We see that right now happening in our modern day, even here in America. People still hunger for transcendence, and technology primes us for non-human intelligence, AI. Aliens become a replacement theology. They explain origins, they explain destiny, they explain morality, and they offer salvation without God. Don't like that.
No. And so people just want something to believe in. I guess I don't understand why are people so apt to believe in something like aliens? Is it because mythical places like Area 51, but they won't believe in Christ because they don't have any evidence? That doesn't make sense to me, but they will very willingly follow along with an alien narrative.
Well, that's because one of the core fundamentals of belief in Christ is faith, and faith is believing without seeing.
Right.
Something to think about.
Yeah, I agree, but we don't see aliens either. So why, if more people would just put their faith in Christ and not put their faith in science and what people are telling them, things might be different.
Yeah, but I think some of this stuff is going to start be revealed, which is what makes people, which is what will make people believe that this is the real side of things, because
Yeah.
it's a mystery and it just all of a sudden happens. It's going to be beautiful. It's going to be awe striking, and they're going to
Mhm.
fall for it.
Yeah.
The
Yep.
core
Okay.
pattern, an encounter that challenges human authority, delivers transcendent knowledge, bypasses moral repentance, and reframes humanity's place in the cosmos. That pattern appears in Genesis, the apocryphal texts, in medieval visions, in modern abduction stories. Different costumes, same script.
Mhm.
Interesting. Bottom line, modern alien narratives are not new phenomena. They are ancient spiritual encounter frameworks updated for a scientific age, ladies and gentlemen. The deception works best when it looks advanced. It's going to look advanced. Hello.
Yep. Yep.
Sounds compassionate, flatters humanity, and undermines moral absolutes. As you've been exploring, I don't need to read that part, but you get the point here.
Mhm.
We just said it. This is how they're going to overturn it because of these instances right here. It looks advanced, sounds compassionate, flatters humanity, and undermines moral absolutes. People, they don't want to trust in God. They don't want to believe that his rules, his red line rules, truth is not trending, ladies and gentlemen. It's eternal because he's the one that put it into place. But they want to deny what our creator has made and go with the alternative. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
All right. My voice was suffering there. What is it about the autonomy and physiology of an animal that allows us to clone it, but not a human? Okay, we're going to dive back into some of the cloning now that we traversed what an avatar and what these aliens could look like as we go into them supposedly being disclosed. Okay, you want to go into this?
Yeah. You want me to
Yeah.
read it?
Yeah,
Okay.
this will get into the placenta stuff that I was talking about a
Okay.
little bit earlier. So go
Mhm.
ahead.
Okay. This is a precise and important question, and the answer is not that humans are fundamentally unclonable, but that human anatomy, physiology, and especially neurodevelopment make successful cloning ethically, biologically, and practically prohibited. Let's break it down carefully, starting with what cloning actually requires. Number one, the cloning method, same process, different outcomes. All successful animal cloning uses somatic cell nuclear transfers. Remove the nucleus from an egg cell, insert nucleus from somatic body or cell, electrically stimulate the egg, implant embryo into a surrogate. This method does not change between species. So the limitation is not the technique, but it's the biology of development.
Important.
Yeah. Yes. Embryonic robustness versus fragility. Animals that clone better. Species commonly cloned, like sheep, cows, and mice, share traits. High embryonic tolerance for genetic and epigenetic errors, faster embryonic cell cycles, less complex early developmental signaling, lower rates of early miscarriage relative to humans. Their embryos can self-correct and developmental noise. Human embryos are exceptionally sensitive to epigenetic errors, prone to chromosomal abnormalities, highly dependent on precise gene timing, less tolerant of nuclear reprogramming errors. SCNT frequently misprograms gene expression and humans fail early.
Now, I want to bring to your attention, ladies and gentlemen, and as I've said before, with our nanotechnologies, we now know that with the fertilization of a sperm into a human egg, we see a flash of light. We've seen this on a nanoscale now. And to me, like I've said before, this is God putting his life and spirit into a human body. So what this is saying here too is the precise and sensitive development of God in our forming of our mother's womb. This is why any scientific advancements to try and duplicate what God has created will never work, because he's made it so complicated, we'll never get there. I think this is important for all of you to understand how intricate each of us, our God, has in developing us as individuals. To me, that is an amazing Father. Go ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Epigenetics, the core barrier. When you clone, you are not copying a blank genome. You are resetting a used one. In animals, epigenetic markers like methylation, histone states reset more reliably. Development tolerates imperfect resets. In humans, epigenetic resetting is extraordinarily precise. Mistimed gene activations cause placental failure, neural tube defects, immune system dysfunction, early embryonic death. This is why more than 90% of human SCNT embryos fail before implantation in research settings. Placental physiology is the silent deal breaker. The human placenta is one of the most invasive and complex among mammals, highly sensitive to imprinting errors, dependent on specific parent-specific gene expression. SCNT disrupts genomic imprinting, which is crucial for nutrient transfer, hormonal regulation, immune tolerance. Animals with less complex placentas tolerate imprinting mistakes better. The gestation time and error accumulation. So for a mouse, gestation time is 20 days, about 20 days. Development speed is rapid. For sheep, gestation time is about 150 days. Development speed is moderate. Humans, on the other hand, are 280 days, and development speed is very slow. Longer gestation equals more opportunity for development drift, compounding errors, immune rejection, and epigenetic instability. Humans have the longest vulnerable development window. Number 6, brain development is the hard wall. This is the most decisive factor. Animal brains are largely pre-wired. They are instinct-driven. They have lower cortical plasticity, less postnatal epigenetic sculpting, while human brains undergo prolonged postnatal development, depend heavily on environment, language exposure, and social interaction, as well as cortex development, which continues into the mid-20s.
See, and we know that for sure, because when it comes to laws that we have regarding drinking alcohol, which is why they've set our laws for 21, because we know that brain development doesn't complete until after that. So
Correct.
we know that the AI is telling the truth here. Go ahead.
SCNT cannot reset neural epigenetics correctly, reproduce developmental context, or create a blank adult brain. A cloned human would not be a replica. Again, it would be a genetic twin born decades later with high neurological risk. Number 7, the mitochondrial mismatch. Clones inherit nuclear DNA from donor, mitochondrial DNA from egg donor. In animals, a mismatch is tolerated. In humans, mitochondrial nuclear incompatibility raises risks of metabolic disease, neurological dysfunction, and early aging. Why is this not just ethics? Even if ethics were removed, success rates would be unacceptably low, birth defects would be likely, long-term outcomes unknown, immense suffering probable. Human cloning fails biologically, not just morally.
See, now I want you to think about this, ladies and gentlemen. Think about the movie Matrix, where you see, I can't remember which of the movies, but you see these machine farms growing human beings in these pods like it was a human womb, right? I don't think, based on what we're seeing here, that that's possible. And I've actually seen examples of companies specifically like over in Germany, that are trying to do that. They're trying to create human grown farms. So if to me, I guess if they're able to break a barrier somehow and duplicate a human being through cloning like that in a farm, like it says here, they cannot duplicate consciousness,
Right.
even if they are somehow able to get past the sensitivity of a placenta in this manner, right? So if they
Right.
create some sort of artificial placenta where these genetic dysfunctions would not happen, and that placenta would be more tolerable of errors like animals are, which allows them to be clonable, then they're not actually going to be human beings, because it's made from a machine and not God. It wouldn't be the same being as what God creates, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, they would have
Because
no thoughts, no feelings, no memories, no nothing.
correct.
Yeah.
They would just be meat suits. And to me, like, especially if we come to a place where a machine is able to do like something like that, then it wouldn't be fully biological, if that makes sense. Maybe
Yeah.
partially machine.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, number 9.
Okay, the deeper issue, humans are not biological hardware. Animals function primarily on genetic programming. Humans develop identity through conscious experience, through language, through moral agency, and social embedding. Cloning copies and structure code, not lived information, or lived formation, sorry. This is why no cloned human has ever been verified, not because of lack of will, so they are trying, but because biology resists it. Bottom line, animals can be cloned because their development tolerates error. Humans cannot be safely cloned because our development does not, especially our placenta biology, our epigenetic precision, and our prolonged brain formation. Cloning a human is not like copying a machine. It is attempting to recreate life history that biology insists must be lived, not manufactured.
Not manufactured, right?
Correct. Yep.
All right, that's the end of the questions I had for Chat GPT, but you see the detail it gives us there. And I thought, I read this to Angie a couple of days ago before we decided to do the show together. But it's just such detail. And to me, some of it is hard to understand, but I believe reading through it and then knowing lived instances that we've gone through in our lives, in lived history, even that we have examples as we read through that there to show, yeah, this is for real. Wouldn't you say so, Ange?
Yeah, I agree. Yep.
All right. So enough of the clones and avatars. This show on Peacock is a show that I started watching, and I want to get back into the nanotechnology talk, because I kind of wanted to start the show off that way, but I figure I'm going to close it this way instead. So this show is called the Copenhagen Test, ladies and gentlemen, and I was talking about communication in my last show, just like I did a little bit with the iCube3 system in the VR, right? Communications and quantum computing, how they're able to transfer information by teleportation. And this show here talks about how, and we're going to watch another video here after this. It's quite a bit longer, but it'll show you how scientists think that every human being is going to have nanoparticles of some sort in them by 2030, ladies and gentlemen. And the crazy thing about that is they can be used in these communication processes as mechanisms for control. Now, what's scary about this show is the fact that this guy, being a public official in the government, gets hacked by a foreign agency and is being used to spy on our own government. Now, I think this is very plausible because I don't know, like right off the bat, that they would be able to hack a number of the population, in I should say in large number, maybe certain individuals. But ladies and gentlemen, this is going to become a real thing. And what's scary about it is in this show, they implement the fact of entering this nanotechnology into human beings by medicine. Now that should freak you out. But check out this short clip here.
Oh, Alexander, someone's been watching and listening through you.
You're telling me it's real?
That's a Wi-Fi signal streaming from your head. You were hacked.
We can either attempt to remove what's in your brain, or we keep the hack open. Yeah, that. We need to infiltrate his life.
They're cute together. He has to trust you. They want me to play the girlfriend.
Or you're just keeping an eye on me.
Oh my gosh, what do you think about that, babe?
Well, I think that show's pretty phenomenal, but that's a crazy thing to think about, that they can hack into your mind and therefore watch everything you do through your own eyes, watch and hear. That's crazy.
Okay, so this
However,
is
I don't think
important
it's
to
that far-fetched either.
Okay, this is important to understand, ladies and gentlemen. So in this show, it's not like they could hack his brain or his movements, right? What they do is they hack his eyes and ears, and they try to control him by that. So it's not like it's not like this IQ3 system where you have a VR human on one end and a robot on the other, where you can control it with your every movement. It's not like that. However, if you're a Christian and you believe that our eyes are the entryway to our soul, right? They're actually surpassing godly authority in this matter. So this is very dangerous, number one, but I think it's something that could become a reality. And it's because we already know, and I'm going to play this other video here in a bit, and then we're going to start and stop it because you haven't seen this full video yet, right? You've seen clips because we did some examples. But I want to get your reactions as we go through it, because it's about 13 minutes long. But ladies and gentlemen, we already know that they have implemented nanotechnologies into our medications, particularly like into our COVID medications. Now, this guy reveals, and this was back a few years back. I can't remember. Maybe it'll say it on the video of when it was recorded, but a few years back, and he talks about how there's 15 different pharmaceutical medications that have nanotechnology in them already. Okay, we're talking about cancer medications.
Okay.
What other medications were there, babe?
I think there was, you kind of broke up, but chemotherapy medications for cancer patients, right? And then the rheumatology stuff for autoimmune diseases.
Oh yeah,
those are the two main ones I remember.
Right. And I think in this show, the guy says that the specific medication he takes was an anti. It's a psychological drug, anti-anxiety med, I think is what he said. Anyways, so I'm going to pull up this video here. And this kid did a deep dive into the nanotech, and he gives a very insightful rundown of the medications that they're using. Let's start this, and I'm going to start and stop this, and we'll talk about it as we go. So check this out.
Hi, everyone. Imagine that the next pill you take doesn't just contain chemicals, but rather a tiny robot. This is the world of nanomedicine, trying to build robots and other constructs that operate at the scale of a billionth of a meter. It's tough. The potential is vast, however, such as being able to directly cure cancer by targeting rogue cells. Keep watching to learn more. This video has 3 parts: nanotechnology, nanomedicine, and future of medical nanotech. Part 1, what is nanotechnology? The simple definition is that nanotechnology is built for some purpose at the scale of nanometers. To understand nanometers, let's draw some comparisons. What exactly is a nanometer? Well, there are 1,000 nanometers in a micrometer, and there are 1,000 micrometers in a millimeter, which you may have heard of. And just to complete the picture, there are 1,000 millimeters in a meter. So that means you have to start with a meter and then take 1 part per 1,000 and then do that 3 times. That's a nanometer, or a billionth of a meter. Some of these terms might sound familiar if you've followed CPU manufacturing at all. And actually, modern day CPUs do exist on the scale of billionth.
I'm sorry. I just gotta say it. What's up with those gloves?
I don't know. And the hat. He's got his own fashion.
Okay, I just had to make fun of that real quick, but holy cow. Here we go.
Of a meter.
Oh man. Stupid ads.
The so-called lithography size is typically a marketing term, but you'll hear phrases like 5 nanometer process, 3 nanometer process, and 2 nanometer process. That last one is quite new, but IBM has come out with a production-ready 2 nanometer process, which has about 5 atoms per transistor in the chips that they make. Again, these lithography sizes are actually a marketing term, so the 5 nanometer process isn't actually 5 nanometers across, it's much larger than that, but it's still nanometer scale, and 5 atoms sounds pretty close to atomically precise manufacturing. However, it's important to note that CPUs are static constructs. The atoms inside them are at fixed positions and not designed to move around at all. The magic happens through electricity, which is basically electrons passing from one atom to the next, doing so easily when the material is very conductive, like silicon or copper, and not conducting through the barriers that surround those elements. So the molecules don't move around, and they certainly don't operate independently. They're just there to act as conduits for electrons. You might have heard of the buzzword nanobot, and this doesn't sound like nanobots, right? CPUs are just static, fixed constructs, but nanobots are supposed to be able to move around the world and perform actions. If you remember the scale I mentioned before, from a meter to millimeter to micrometer, micrometer is 1/1,000,000th of a meter. And currently we have robots at around that scale, between 0.1 and 10 micrometers in size. But they can and do operate on the nanometer scale. And just to draw a comparison with biology, micrometer scale is about the same size as bacteria, while nanometer scale is about the same size as viruses. Manufacturing robots or anything really at that scale is extremely difficult, as you might imagine. Semiconductor manufacturing facilities are hundreds of millions or billions of dollars to construct. There's a theoretical technology called a nanofactory that would actually assemble an object atom by atom. So you could specify exactly where you wanted every atom to be, and it could 3D print it essentially to construct any object.
Actually, and now that has changed because of what I presented in my last show with QKD. So he says these atoms can transfer by electricity, right? So they can now be teleported with quantum entanglement in the QKD system instead of being in a nanofactory where they can place them separately. That's frightening. I just wanted to point that out.
That is very frightening.
The way it would probably be built is to have a series of little arms that can move atoms into place, single atoms at a time, forming slightly larger intermediate building blocks, which then get passed along to the next step in the assembly line, which then takes these slightly larger blocks and assembles them together to form even larger structures, and so on. And you can basically have an assembly line of ever larger arms until you have the final steps appearing at the macro scale, and you can produce a macroscopic object as the output. But at that very small scale, physics is very non-intuitive and full of quantum effects. For example, if you think about a modern assembly line, and the arms that are moving things around, they can only operate at several hertz. Like they might be able to perform several actions per second, but not break the laws of physics, of course. But a nanoscale factory arm that's moving one atom into place at a time could actually operate at the scale of gigahertz. So it could potentially move billions of atoms around every second. Again, nanofactories are a theoretical technology, but it does seem like we're leading in that direction. Because bacteria and viruses are roughly the same size as nanobots, scientists are taking a lot of cues from how nature has evolved mechanisms to try to figure out how to import them into nanobots.
There's a Harbor Freight store in your neighborhood where we sell hardworking tools that always work with any.
Here's an example from.
And I want you to think about this too, ladies and gentlemen. The fact that he says it's on a viral scale, right? So they implement these things into these vaccines that we have because it's easier to inject us with it than it is to transfer it any other way. Any thoughts so far, babe?
No, this is just interesting so far. A lot of scientific talk, though.
Yeah, I'll be honest. It's kind of boring, but I think this is super important to understand, especially when we're going into an unknown world. And we're talking about, artificial intelligence that's going to be controlling some of this stuff. So I don't know.
I don't think it's boring. It's just a lot to comprehend.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Professor Bradley Nelson.
It's interesting.
Bacteria like E. coli have a tiny little tail that actually rotates, and in doing so propels the bacteria through its environment. The tail is a special construct about 40 to 50 nanometers across, and it spins at several hundred revolutions per minute, perhaps the world's tiniest biological motor. So we have a lot to learn about how to construct nanobots, but I think one of the main takeaways is your intuition doesn't really apply about how fast things can move or how difficult it might be to construct something because quantum effects might get in your way. Part 2, nanomedicine. One of the main things we want to do with nanotechnology and nanobots is to treat illnesses in the human body. Because nanobots are operating at around the same scale as the cells that are in your body, they could potentially affect very personalized and targeted medicine. Other than the difficulty of manufacturing these entities in the first place, the main problem is that the nanotech has to be compatible with your body. In other words, you don't want it to be attacked by your immune system, which might think it's an oddly shaped bacteria. And if the nanobot is damaged or destroyed, you don't want its component molecules to be something that's harmful to the human body. For example, hardware engineers love using rare earths, but you really don't want some stray cadmium floating around in your bloodstream. One of the most promising techniques is to use biological building blocks that we already understand. For example, by using DNA to construct nanorobots. There's a technique called DNA origami, which basically leverages DNA to auto-fold into certain shapes. I gather it's a little bit like protein folding, right? If you construct a certain molecule, it will actually fold itself into the lowest energy state, which is a really cheap and easy way to do 3D manufacturing at a tiny scale. There was some work in 2018 by Arizona State University and the University of Sydney and possibly others.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understood that he's saying using DNA to make these nanobots, but you can't put someone's DNA into someone else's body, so they'd have to use your own, right?
Yeah.
Which is essentially immunotherapy, and we already do that for a lot of different diseases. So why do you have to turn it into a nanobot? That's I can see the medical standpoint of what he's saying of how it could be beneficial, but there's no benefit for a nanobot, I don't think. We're already doing immunotherapy. Okay, keep going, sorry.
As far as what I understand, it's more of, because like with the mRNA for COVID, it duplicates the spike protein and causes your immune system to activate. So that's what the bots do, is they duplicate that. Whereas
that's what it's supposed to do.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah. Other than people that have a negative autoimmune response to a virus, with that being the active thing for somebody that has a bad immune system, it would be a good thing, I guess, but not for mass distribution.
No, but I would think how he was saying it, if your body rejects it and then it breaks apart and then you have these particles, that's going to cause people to be sick. That's going to cause autoimmune diseases in people. So there's so far nothing about this that seems okay.
Yeah, just like we see that people that have gotten this, they end up with blood clots in their veins, like big, long, stringy things, okay? That's probably the result of it being rejected.
Correct. Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Where they used DNA origami to create self-assembling nano barrels. Basically a 3D enclosed space like a container or a barrel that can actually carry a payload. It can carry some other molecules to a destination. The nano barrels are about 30 nanometers by 30 nanometers, which I think would be quite difficult to construct. But again, by asking the DNA to fold itself into that particular configuration, not too bad. What the researchers did is they put RNA inside the nano barrel, and that RNA is designed to disable a certain gene in cells. They say that it silences a targeted gene. They then put a propulsion mechanism on these nanobarrels, some kind of enzyme that produces an exothermic reaction, and that's enough to propel the barrel along in a certain direction. I think of this as burning fuel, so to speak. I believe the researchers were dropping tons of nanobarrels into the bloodstream, and they were just propelling themselves off in random directions, eventually get throughout the whole body. And you might be wondering where this is going, but the next step is that the researchers added a particular chemical that was a sensor that could detect the exterior of cancer cells. And it would basically try to enter the cell membrane only if it was right next to a cancer cell.
When the sawdust settles and the engine roars, the thing you care about is a job well done. But when you get...
So let me summarize for a minute. The researchers created some RNA that could really damage a cancer cell. They then took some DNA and used DNA origami to fold itself into a barrel that contained that RNA. The barrel has some kind of weird propulsion mechanism on it to move it throughout the bloodstream. And it even has a sensor on it to detect when it's bumping into a cancer cell and let itself in. So what's the last step of this process? You have this little time bomb inside the cancer cells, but it doesn't open on its own. So finally, the researchers added a particular element inside this nanobarrel that would melt if exposed to a particular RF frequency. And that would basically dissolve the nanobarrel, or at least open it up, spill out the deadly RNA, and that RNA would float around in the cancer cell until it actually found the DNA there that the cancer cell was relying on, and it would silence a critical part of that DNA, and the cancer cell would basically go to sleep. Now, this is not in human trials yet. The researchers did it in mice and pigs, but the whole operation took less than 48 hours. They would just, I guess, inject these nanobarrels, wait for a while, and then beam the RF frequency to the particular cancerous location inside that creature's body. And if any of the nanobarrels had made their way into a cancer cell, they would shut down those cancer cells. Wow, that's futuristic. I imagine there are a lot of things that can go wrong. So this type of technology, of course, takes a while to make its way to human trials. But even just realizing that it might be possible is incredible. And as you can see, nanobots don't look exactly like you might imagine a robot to be. There's no CPU, there's no digital logic. It's much too small for that. It's various chemicals combining in a very smart way to create a very special purpose and tiny nanobot. Actually, I did find a note on the internet that there are currently 15 FDA-approved drugs for treating cancer that use nanotechnology. I don't know if that means they all contain nanobots, perhaps not, or perhaps we're just a little too strict with that term in terms of our understanding. For example, the mRNA COVID vaccines utilize nanotechnology as well. They actually contain the instructions to ask your body to mass produce virus spike protein lookalikes. So it's just a bit of RNA that asks your body, please produce this, which is very similar to that cancer example with a bit of RNA that says, please shut down this gene. So I think in some ways, nanotech and nanobots are already here. We just don't recognize them because we think they'll look like robots. Part 3, Future of Medical Nanotech.
There's a Harbor Freight store in your neighborhood, so stop by, neighbor.
As we already discussed, I think it would be difficult to make a nanobot with substantial computational capabilities, perhaps by utilizing quantum entanglement or something so that you can link the nanobot to a larger object, or perhaps by having more like microbots, which of course can be 1,000 times larger than a nanobot, but that's still about the size of cells, and they could operate within your body and do computation, communication with the outside world.
Hold on, did you hear what he said there? Quantum entanglement to communicate with a larger machine. I think I was onto something there.
I like how they sneak those words in there. Yeah. Yep.
Etc. So you might have a lot of different scales of nanobots.
People gotta pay attention.
However it happens, futurists Ray Kurzweil predicts that medical nanobots will be commonplace by the 2030s. They'll be in everyone's bloodstream, looking for problems, checking up on our health, and taking intervention as well so that we stay as healthy as possible. He is particularly interested in trying to solve the problem of high bandwidth brain-computer interfaces. We can only get so far with external scans, and understanding what's happening in the brain dynamically is very difficult. However, if you had a swarm of very small nanobots, they could actually go through your blood system, infiltrate your brain, and just sit there and observe what's happening.
Hold on. Infiltrate your
What?
brain. No, I don't think
Just a
so.
swarm of them. A
Oh, yeah,
swarm of
that's
them,
all.
even. Not even one.
That's
Ow.
all. This is
Where-
absolutely insane. Go
We've
ahead.
gone from, trying to eat healthy and heal our bodies like naturally. I know that's not always. Modern medicine is important to let's just use nanobots. Let's have a swarm of nanobots go in our brain. What? This is not exciting. This is frightening. This kid is so excited. This is very scary.
Yeah.
I don't want
Communicate with the
nanobots
neurons
floating around in
through
my body.
electrical charges or the release of hormones and other chemicals. And I think there's two major consequences of this. First is that we would expand our thinking capacity, as Kurzweil calls it, creating artificial neocortex. And that, of course, is basically the beginning of the singularity, because that allows us to exponentially expand the size and capacities of our brains. And the second big change is that those nanobots could probably provide virtual and augmented reality that seems just as real as IRL, because they could fake.
Wait a minute. Is he saying what I think he's saying right there? Augmented reality, so they can manipulate what you're thinking or seeing by augmenting a virtual reality within your brain?
I mean, that's how I took it.
What in the heck?
I don't know.
I don't think I caught
bigger-
that when I watched that. Whoa.
That's a bold claim, and it's very odd that people are excited about this.
Okay, let's finish.
Phantom signals coming from anywhere in your nervous system. It's really hard to imagine how those two abilities would change the world. But again, I think it's safe to say that at that stage, the technological singularity would not be too far away. Back to the current for a moment. The nanotech market was already worth $121 billion in 2020. And there's one estimate out there that says it will grow 25% every year until 2029. And about 35% of the investment in nanotech is going to be focused on medical applications, which is incredible because obviously nanotech has substantial implications for CPU manufacturing in all kinds of fields, but 35% focused on how to make medical nanobots, personalized medicine, cure cancer, and make Ray Kurzweil's dreams come true. I want to also add that AI can really help us in terms of nano manufacturing. Basically, because there are so many quantum effects going on, it's really hard to figure out what actual physical construct will actually do what you want, like create a motor that can turn around. Nature, of course, has had billions of years to figure out all these different configurations, and we can and will copy it for inspiration wherever we can. But at some point, having an entity that can reason about atoms and how they behave and how they interact down to the quantum scale is going to be essential. I'll leave you with one quote that I found fascinating.
No.
In the same way that neural networks could help computers code themselves, nanocomputing technologies could allow computers to build themselves. Finally, in conclusion, we talked a lot about what nanotechnology is, what nanobots are and what they look like, and the fact that they don't really look like robots the way we would envision them, at least currently when we're taking a lot of insight from how biological entities exist at that nanoscale. There seems to be nanomedicine already that uses nanotech to produce personalized or targeted medications. And in the future, that will only accelerate. An interesting question in my mind is, how can you make nanobots that are a little less single purpose, that can coordinate swarms of other nanobots, communicate with the outside world, and so on? Right now,
So let me get this straight. He's excited about AI being able to recreate itself with these nanobots if we already have a swarm of nanobots in our bodies to reproduce themselves within ourselves? No.
Yes.
No.
Right? My mind is blown right now. Like, what
Oh my gosh.
earth are we living on? This is just crazy.
I'm done. I'm done watching
I
that.
feel like
Oh
it just
my
goes against
gosh.
nature. You're done.
Okay.
Okay.
So, ladies and gentlemen, with this New Year's video, I just want to say, with a declaration before you as a Christian brother in these United States, I think it's imperative that we pay attention to what's going on. And given what we just watched, we need to be very much engulfed in watching these type of things as they come to their fruition, especially, and to me now, nanobots are much more threatening than these robotics that everybody's talking about that are going to be released, or aliens or anything like that. And so that's why I decided to close with the nanobot thing. So if we're going to have this nanotechnology being implemented into our medications, ladies and gentlemen, as we go into 2026 and beyond, I think the number one thing that we should be thinking about and watching for in these medications is the expansion of them, okay? And which ones they're sticking them in, and not putting them into your body. Now, I am one who did not take the COVID vaccine. Okay.
Nor did
but I also, I'm not taking any psychological drugs. I'm not taking any cancer drugs or anything like that. So right now, those are the ones that they're limited to. But ladies and gentlemen, if we're going forward where they're going to expand this into who knows how many medications in order to advance science to heal our bodies, then just like Angie said earlier, we're dismissing God out of even healing properties from our faith, which we know he's capable of. Miracles, you name it. We're all just throwing it out the door if we don't watch closely enough to know, even if they go down to the scale of, let's say, our over-the-counter drugs like ibuprofen or something, you know, what if they're putting them in that? We have to pay attention to the point that we don't willingly allow this into our bodies. What do you think, Angie?
Oh, I agree. And I think that it comes down to us, researching things and keeping our bodies healthy so we don't need to potentially have cancer treatment drugs or potentially have an autoimmune disease that you have to take those kind of drugs for. It kind of goes back to the simple styles of the Bible and how we eat and what we nourish our bodies with. That's really the biggest thing. They make us sick, so we become dependent on these drugs. The best way to fight back is to not become dependent.
Right. Yep. And I mean, we're vessels. This body is a temporary vessel of our spirit. Okay, so our soul and our spirit go with Jesus when it comes to the end of our life. So we're commanded by the Lord via Scripture to take care of our bodies, because this is our tent. Yes, it is only temporary, but as we come into these invasive years of deception, we don't know, nor do I trust any governmental NGO or agency or non-governmental agency, I should say, with any of this stuff. And ladies and gentlemen, it's something we're really, really, really going to have to pay attention to going forward. And so that's my word for you for 2026. As we go further into this year, we're going to be distracted by all kinds of different world events. But on a personal level, I think this is something we really need to stay in prayer about with our relationship with Jesus, and paying attention to externals that we're allowing into our personal spaces to affect us in such a way. So as we close here today, is there any word to the people from you, Angie, about how we should be approaching 2026 and beyond?
I think you covered a lot of it. I would just say what I said before is educate yourself, educate on the natural things you can do, and read your Bible, stay in prayer, stay connected to Christ, and don't get too distracted by all the worldly things that we're going to see, because there's already a lot that stress us out or make us worried or make us concerned. And the best thing to do, and there's a growing trend I've seen of homesteading, where people are milling their own flour, having chickens, trying to live more simple, number one, but also more healthy. And I think that reading your Bible, staying in prayer, maybe fasting, and learning how to not rely on the government system, but also how to keep us healthy ourselves as much as possible. I think that's a good trajectory going into the new year.
That's right. So this is the Watchman's Call, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we're here to discern, warn, and prepare. And like I always say, it's time to draw the red line in your life. We did that here today. We're showing you to draw that red line in your life. The red line, I forgot my own dang phrase. What the heck? The red line in your mind.
I mean, that's...
I already got warped by nanotechnology. Sorry.
No.
The red line in your life, the red line in your mind. With Jesus Christ our Lord, read your Bible till it talks back to you. And the red line against this world system. Let's go.
Yes.
Thank you for joining us today, ladies and gentlemen. Say goodbye, Angie.
Bye. Thank you.
See you next time on Redline Live.